I can only do my tongue backwards, not forward. So I can't go like, I can only go. All right. Well, welcome to Not So PG. I'm Maddie Mills. My pronouns are he and him.
I'm Brooke Blurton and my pronouns are she and her and boss bitch.
Look, right at the top of this episode, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast. And for me, that's the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation.
And for me, that's Renny people of the Kulin Nation here in Naarm. So let's get into it, Maddie.
All right. Now, we are going to be talking about sex, dating, and romance in 2022. I'm ready for this chat. I feel like there's change coming for me. I feel the energy, and I'm excited about it.
Okay. All right. From the last episode, you didn't really want to dive into it. What has changed?
Well, the song Rainbows by Nina. If you listened to the last episode, you would know that song is a #1 chart-topping song and an ARIA award-winning song, an Emmy award-winning song. That's how I'm getting to the Emmys, baby. Nah, look, I didn't really want to talk too much about it, and I'm not going to go into like my love life too much.
You don't have to.
Only because, like, I like to keep that shit private, and but I do want to like talk about the things that everybody experiences, which is, romance, and is it dead or is it just having a hiatus? Because we know that it ain't happening. It ain't fucking happening.
There has been an absolute shift, I think, in modern dating. I must admit, like I'm the dating queen, I guess you could probably.
Oh, she coined a phrase, the dating queen.
I've been on 3 reality TV shows, all dating shows, and I would say that I'm a pretty avid dater. Like I love going on dates, and my friends look at me for advice, and because I feel like I'm just really assured of myself in a way. So the energy that I give off when I'm on a date is like, you either like me or you don't.
Yeah.
And so my friends are like, whoa, I get so nervous and I freak out and I say things that I don't really necessarily mean, or I try to be something that I'm not. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's so important that first impression that you give off is the impression of you and who you are, right?
Yeah.
And so I find people get too in their heads and kind of have this out-of-body experience on that first date, and then they realize like, oh, fuck, I've just kind of like given off this total different person to who I am, and now they're going to think that, and now I have to obtain that, and then there's this, this like domino effect, and then, they're like, oh, then they're not my person.
Yeah.
Always, 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 that first impression when you go on a date should always be who you are, because if they don't accept you then, and they don't love you then, or they don't know who you are in that moment, what makes you think that you have any potential later?
Yeah.
That's how I
then they
think.
can make decisions based on correct information, right? On like the most accurate information. If you're yourself, they can not assess, but like they can take you at face value and be like either into you or not, and you'll get that vibe. But if you're a version of yourself, how long can you actually be that version of yourself, and how long can you hold on to that image of who you want them to think you are? It doesn't last.
It doesn't last. And I feel like, TV and dating has always kind of taught us like these stupid games that we have to play, like, like how to keep a guy, or how not to lose a guy in 10 days, whatever. The stupid romantic rom-com movies that are so, not up to date. I watched The Ugly Truth recently.
Okay.
And that movie was made like 10 years ago. So not long time ago.
Right.
And the references used in that movie were so sexist. so homophobic, so non-progressive. And that was only 10 years ago. So a lot has changed in that time. And this movie, I love it. Like, I love the movie and the concept of it. And you know, there's always like a love story at the end of it. So I always like, you know, that happy ending moment. But the journey that it takes you on, it's like, it uses words like so offensive. Like, it uses spastic and it's
yucky.
hugely like, you know, sexist towards like what men want particularly and how women should be. And I hate that. I'm like, no. And so watching that was like a nice little refresher of how far we've come in 10 years, but also how much we need to go and how much I feel dating has changed.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can give some pretty good advice.
Yeah.
But the only advice that I really give my friends, and the first advice that I give my friends, is to be themselves.
Yeah. You hear it so often, don't you? But like, I think that that's one of your superpowers from like an outsider's perspective, is that I think that you naturally are very good at being yourself. Maybe you've worked on it.
I can't be anything else.
I can be. Trust me.
Because you're an actor.
But I can put on, you know, these different hats and blah, blah, blah. I just feel like sometimes
you can switch into them, yeah.
I'm definitely myself on this pod. I'm myself when I'm around you. I'm myself when I'm around a safe environment. But if I was going on a date, I would find it very hard to be this version of myself on a date. I know that. I would find that challenging. I would be the person, I'm the type of person that would be sort of playing it safe by, you know, not expressing myself too loud or being, you know, how I would normally act. I would definitely be like I would be a version of myself that is trying to cater to the perception that I want people to see me as.
I could see that, but then I know that you are so genuine that you wouldn't be able to like.
It doesn't last long. No, it doesn't last long. But
and I know you're so good at your job, so you're so good at acting, and I feel like that's just inbuilt in you to like. I think. Like, you know,
but you know what? It's not disingenuous. It's just another version of myself.
Exactly, and we do have different versions.
Chameleons.
So we do have, we're naturally chameleons. I would say that you and I, we're very alike in that way. But at the same time, we do switch into these different roles and personalities, and you know and you know, it's sometimes environmental influences. Who knows?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's other influences, like a couple of lines. Who knows?
Yeah.
I just know that I feel I just like to give my friends that little boost, that being like, you know what, just be yourself, and if they love you, they love you, and not giving a shit on, like, it's good to make a first impression, I think, but at the same time, if you are looking for that life partner, you want that person to accept you in all its glory. And I think
all your
you have
faults
to
and
be
flaws,
genuine.
yeah.
Exactly. And they might not get that on the first impression, but just knowing that you were genuine on that first date, you know, you can't go back and say, oh, look, I said da-da-da, but I didn't really mean it. You know what I mean? It all comes out. The truth comes out. Don't lie. And so I don't even so talking about dating apps per se, because that's how I've met a lot of people that I've gone on dates with, obviously. I don't even put my job.
Yep.
Well, one, I have too many jobs to list, so fuck that. And two, I'm like, the only thing, you know what I put? I only have Raya now, which is a very specific dating app for people who are in the industry.
Yes.
You know about Raya.
Yes.
But even like on Bumble or Tinder, I actually have never been on Tinder since that last experience that we spoke about on the episode, whatever it was, where I got ghosted. I mean, when I got catfished by an engaged man.
Yes,
so I haven't been on Tinder since.
Melbourne, who was in Cairns, who was mistaken for a homeless man.
Oh my God, yeah. All he wanted was a bed to sleep in.
All he wanted was a bed. A favour.
Yeah. So I haven't been on Tinder, but Hinge, Bumble, Raya are my go-to.
Yep.
And I'm on Raya now, but, you know, I got rid of the rest. But I actually just do you know what I put as my job?
What?
Okay.
Entrepreneur.
No. I put coffee addict.
As your job? That is hilarious.
Is that not me though?
That
As
is,
a person,
Yeah.
if you know me and you get to know me, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to
Because
take
I
a
love
sip of my coffee, as you say.
Yeah, you take a sip. And so,
Ugh,
I
cold.
want people to get to know me, like who I am, and not define me instantly. Because that's what I'm about.
And you
I'm
would
about-
you would definitely get brushed with the reality TV stroke, where people would just go reality TV star and label you as that and not see much further if they don't know you.
Yeah.
So that's like something that I'm sure that you're probably having to dodge in that landscape, right?
Oh, it's actually a nightmare. Like dating for me is just a nightmare. And then if you jump on apps, people screenshot your dating profile and they share it, and then it's a Daily Mail article, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the bullshit. So that's why I like Raya, because it's very private. You can't screenshot profiles.
I've never been on Raya. Obviously, I've been in like a long-term relationship. So, but I have had a look on Raya through my friend's account, and shout out to Rudderboy Hick in this episode as well. She's getting a little shout out.
She might as well just be our third co-host.
Yes. Oh, we need to have her on. But I actually was flicking through her Raya at one point. Yeah. So I know what it's like.
These dating apps don't really. They're not. I've heard through stories, this is through trauma stories, when you're sharing as a black woman dating, how, people aren't that approachable and they're not as, I don't know. Is that where we're at though? Like in terms of dating, like we're still at that stage where people are scared of black women?
I think that people are... it's so ingrained to them that, like, I don't think they're scared of black women. I think that, like, people are just... it's so...
Is there an intimidation or something?
It just feels like we're still at that stage where white is the norm and the base, and everything beyond white is in the diversity angle or lens, and it feels different when what really needs to shift is the mindset that...
Yeah.
That there isn't a base or there isn't a nucleus which is white and all that comes from it is other. It's like, no, they need to be on the same level, Yeah.
That's what the conversations and stuff that I've had with my friends who are all black people, colour women who have found dating really difficult.
Yeah.
In using those apps.
On the apps, is there a place where you can put your nationality or your it's because I know that back in the day on like what was I don't even think I remember. But I know
this
that
is what I
like,
have a problem with actually. So this is what I have a problem with is that when I think I've been on Hinge and they ask you like your religious background and they ask you your nationality and they don't have like Indigenous Australian or First Nations. They just have like Australian and Caucasian or whatever it is. And you kind of come under like other.
Other, yeah. That's yucky.
And that really annoys me because I'm like, come on. Like if this is dating apps these days and we're moving into more progressive times, like Bumble is pretty progressive. Like they let the women talk first.
Yeah, so shout out to Lucille McCart. She's like my friend's daughter who's like head of Bumble.
They're ahead of the game in terms of women and, empowering women. And so what happens is that the guys or whoever girl and girl, I think it's like if it's a straight or heterosexual relationship or even bi whatever, I think that girl can only message back first.
Right. Okay.
So they
The
can't
girls
communicate
have the
with you
power.
unless you message first. Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah. Power, whatever you want to say. But like, I think that is really empowering. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think all the other dating apps need to catch up. But I think, in terms of
that's
like,
had to be a thing though, because that obviously comes that sort of way of approaching the female approaching first obviously has come from an unsafe landscape of social media and dating apps, and so women haven't felt safe on those platforms. So it does like put the power back in their hands, but it's unfortunate that even needs to happen.
I know, but this is the apps.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like sometimes And even, it was hard to date in COVID. I get that. But
Yep.
now, we're starting to sort of, I think there's a shift in people putting themselves out there. I'm seeing more people and going on dates and stuff like that. I love like being in a restaurant and just like watching someone on a date. It's like,
Yeah. Is dating, okay, I know that you're a queen, the queen of dating, as you said. Is dating for you romantic? Like, I just
love. Well, okay, so from last conversation we had, I was in that, went to the retreat and I was having this like moment of like feeling lost and losing my purpose. And in that, I actually lost my love of people and being around people. And I just wanted to like be, introverted, and I just wanted to stay within myself and like not leave the house. But I think it's just because I was feeling like, run down and worn out. And now I'm in this moment of like, I want to be around people and I want to love people. And I'm still going through that shift of, dealing what I need to deal with and, redirecting where my love and my time goes to.
Yeah.
And so like being single and, putting yourself out there, you have to really do love being with people. And so I love getting to know people and putting myself out there. But at the same time, there is that guard up because I don't want to let people in instantly.
Yeah.
But I still want to like find my person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do love the romance part of it. Like I think getting dressed up, getting ready for a date, going on the date, it being like quite clumsy at the start, and then once you like, roll into it, it can be romantic. Like I really like the subtle gestures of like touch. So like if there's like a like a leg touch or there's like a hand touch on the table or we're
Is
walking.
there a part of your
and they're
body
like,
that if someone touches, you're like, oh my God?
I have had that and I was like, okay, I really like this person.
Yeah.
Like, I knew instantly. Yeah.
Where is it?
I think it's in my hands because that I get did I tell you this? My hands are my place of it's my erogenous zone.
Okay.
So if someone plays with my hands and like strokes them and tickles them, I'm instantly horny.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's my hands.
Okay. Well, mine is my back. So like
Ooh, yeah.
if, say, Paulie was to put his hand on my back, that's like, I find that like really intimate and comforting.
Hot.
Yeah. But his is his ears.
Which is very common.
Which is
very common. Yeah.
Very common.
I don't like my ears. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I just don't like my ears in general. So I'm like,
I've got
don't
the
touch
cutest
them.
little ears. You want to see my ears? Okay, for
Yeah,
you
let me
viewers
show
at home, ready? Boom. They're so little. Look at them. Little ears.
They're cute. They're great
I got
ears.
little ears. Little ones.
Yeah, you don't have like huge lobes.
No.
Which a turn off. Sorry, an ick is massive lobes.
Okay, yeah.
for me.
Yep.
Anyway, so back to romance. So I feel like dating has changed, and I do feel like these apps are creating this really not so enjoyable experience because, well, I think these apps are creating this like not so enjoyable experience because it's very superficial. It's very like swiped based on looks, profession, what school you went to, and even age. I don't think even age for me is a thing. I've dated on the spectrum, I feel.
Yep.
I don't know about you in previous to Paulie.
All
like
have been
whether
older than
you-
me. So the one, like when I was 19, I dated a guy who was 30. My first boyfriend was my age actually when I was 18. Then my second was when I was 19. He was older. It's always been older. I'm attracted to older.
Maturity.
Maturity. I'm attracted to maturity. And I think that I've always been a mature person. So like I'm 27, but I feel I live in my mid-30s.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the same with me. And I think a lot of people are, well, I don't know, people on a spectrum, I feel like on that level of, I've dated 10 years older than me and still felt like I was the oldest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think the superficial part is really frustrating because I think, unless you like break that initial, meeting someone, you never know what could happen.
Yes.
And I think we base it, that first impression just purely on looks. And that's, I think, just so unfair because I
Yeah.
just think I love the thought of meeting my person through friends or
Yep.
like, I don't know. I had this like vision once, and I don't know if you've ever dreamt of like who you would, you know, obviously Paul is your person, but like I just want to meet someone in like a passing moment. Like,
Oh, yeah. Do you know
maybe
there's
they,
an
like-
app for that? You know?
oh, what do you mean?
So there's an app.
There's
It's a
another
dating app. So there's a dating app. If you walk past someone with the same app, it tells you that you walked past them and you're both on the app. And it gives you like a notification. So if you could be like, what is it called? It's an app where you are like, it's like a dating app. You're on there. Your location is visible. They don't know exactly your location. You don't know theirs. But if you have a sliding doors moment where you walk past them and they're on the app, it will tell you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool,
Yeah.
but kind of creepy because then your location's always on.
Yeah.
And
your
my
location,
location's off.
they don't notify the person immediately though.
Okay.
So it's like, it's not
So
like.
you were like in a passing and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, sliding door moment.
Yeah.
This could happen.
So maybe like at
but-
the end of the day, I don't know, like I'm making this up, but I'm presuming, I'm presuming.
There's no app.
But I think that like what could be great is if at the end of the day, they gave you a list of people that you had a sliding doors moment with, and then you
Okay.
could go through them and like you could decide whether or not you might, you know, notice one of the
Yeah.
faces and be like, oh, that was the guy in the cafe that I made eyes with, and we both looked like we were interested in each other, but we didn't say anything in the moment. Now I'm home at 6:30 p.m. and I've got a notification that he was interested because, I was close to him, and now we can start a conversation. Oh my God, I'm going to make the app. Oh my God, okay. I am going to get a lawyer onto this, patent this. And
Maddie's had a career change, guys. He's
Yes.
developing apps.
I told you I'd be a sexy
Can I
Siri.
tell you a funny dating story
Yes.
of a different app where I ended up dating someone off Gumtree?
Babe, no, I can't. Oh, don't. What, wait, really?
Yeah.
Don't, bless.
But this is the thing. You never know where you could meet someone, guys.
You go to Gumtree for like clothes or like furniture or like a lawnmower, not a man. But wait,
But I found me a man on Gumtree.
don't. Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah, anyways, the short version of this story is that I was actually selling a couch and I left a sock in the couch. Not purposely. Then that same guy obviously came, picked up the couch with his friend
Yep.
and left, found the sock and was like, do you want your sock back? And I was like, that's very odd. But
this is
no,
giving
all
Dobby
good.
from Harry Potter vibes.
Totally fine.
I'm Dobby, Master
want your
Sock. Do you want your sock back, Master?
Anyways, so we went on a date and we started dating after that for a couple of weeks.
When he
and then
turned up and you
fizzled
had
out.
your first interaction, were you interested? Like, were you like, oh, he's hot, or nah?
Yeah, kind of, but just thought he was just picking up my couch. That's what I mean.
Yes.
That would be like a nice moment, like meeting. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if we were together now. We'd be like, oh yeah, we met on Gumtree. How funny.
Yes. And people would think it was a cover story for like some raunchy, like first time
We're
meeting.
sponsored by Gumtree. You can not only find love on Bumble, Tinder, and Hinge, you can now find love on Gumtree.com.
Are you looking for a lawnmower, a couch, or a partner? Check out gumtree.com.au/looking for love.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Anyways.
Let's talk about like being in a relationship, because you've been through, you know, you've been
ringer.
through the ringer with guys and girls, but like you've been in a few relationships. What is do you find that romance is important in a relationship, and how did you keep it alive?
I think romance, right,
Mm-hmm.
is you could get it gets so stale in, I think, long-term relationships. You do really have to actively work on it. And I think it's those spontaneous moments of really just like, you know, when you just get stuck in routine and you're doing the same thing. It's, you know, even in sex, you're doing the
Yeah.
same routine sex.
Yep.
then that's when I realized I'm like, wow, we're not where we were. And it's not about getting back to that, but it's about keeping it still alive.
Yes.
And I think it's doing the spontaneous things like going to the beach randomly at night and just watching the stars and listening to the water trinkle.
Yeah.
Or it's planning a date that's so unexpected or going to so much detail to that date that it's just like it's beyond cute. You know what I mean? Like I love
paying
that.
for a song to be written.
See, that is still romantic. Like even if I felt like it was so cringe.
Yeah.
I mean, I did get written like someone did actually write me a song, and it was to Mary Had a Little Lamb. It was
Don't. That's worse than rainbows.
right.
Oh.
And it was so fucking cringe,
Wow.
bless him, that I was like, I love the effort. I love the thought process.
Yep.
I think this is so cringe, and I'm going to say that, but I think also at the same time, it is so cute that you've thought about me in that moment that, you kind of disregard how you feel about it, particularly.
Yeah.
And you think of all the other things. Like, how much effort they've put in and like the thought process. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But I love romance. I think I lost romance like post-Bachelorette because I feel like, one, I was not in the state of mind to be romancing anyone at that time.
Yeah.
And I think I had overdone it in just the season. Like, it is pretty extreme. And I feel like I feel like the simple things, like even just like going down the beach, eating fish and chips and drinking a Matzo's ginger beer for me is just like the most romantic thing ever.
Yeah, cute. Did you ever, in a relationship, get to a point where you felt like it became companionship because there was no romance, no sex, there was no sort of want for the intimacy with each other?
Yes, I did get to that stage. And it's not a fun stage, I think. Yeah.
How did you find your way out of it? Or you broke up?
Yeah, I think, well, my personal experience was it fizzled out, right? It got to a stage where we were just like, wow, this is actually we're just a friendship.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you been in those relationships where it does feel like companionship? I know that Paulie and you have been in like a very long, loving relationship for a while, but even like prior to that, did you?
Yes.
Like, what were your previous partners like?
Yeah, I think that like for me, I'm trying to personally really unpack what I want within a relationship and whether or not I'm ever going to be able to get them. Like I really want kids. It's like a non-negotiable. I have put that thought aside for 5 years, and it's something that in the future that I know that I definitely want. So for me, like, that's like a big concern of mine that's starting to come up because I'm like, I don't think that Paulie wants kids as bad as I want kids, right? So I don't think it's going to be an issue for him to go through life without kids. For me, I want kids. I know that I want them between the age of 30 and 35, and whether I do it by myself with a surrogate, I will do that because I know that I was born to be a dad. Like, I'll be a great dad, right?
You would be. You would absolutely be an amazing dad.
And I want that
no
experience. I want that love that I have for my nieces and nephews, but to have it in my own house. And I know that I'm 27 now. I have to start thinking long term and things that are going to be a part of my world forever. And there are things that I don't have at the moment that I feel like I need in the future. And it's like, I think that it comes down to one, obviously working it out in your partnership, in your relationship. Yeah. And so I think I'm now shifting gears into just, instead of thinking about the present moment and what is possible within a relationship now, I'm like, what will I need for the future?
And I think it's so nice to hear you as a man, because I obviously only know that a lot of women think about children much quicker than men do, and they're about, their plan and that. And I think a lot of women feel like they're on a time limit.
Yeah.
And it's actually so refreshing to hear a gay man such as yourself thinking about that and that being such a similar concern.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so strange because I'm only 27 as well.
Yeah.
And so, I want the same things.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted that. And I'm a little bit in a place where I'm like, will I ever get that? Or will I ever meet someone to do that with? And it's, but you do have to think about it. And I think, knowing that you guys are on different levels
And
of
Paul's
where you're
30,
at.
Paul's 34. So he is 7 years in front of me, and I think that lately I've been really trying to figure out, what is important to him that he needs from me and what is important to me that I need from him. And I think that that's going to take work. So I don't think that decisions, these sort of big decisions can be made spontaneously or emotionally. They need to be worked through, and then you get all the information you need, and then you make a good decision based on correct information instead of, just sort of surface level conversation. Like, we need to dig deep and figure this out. And I'm like keen to do it because I know that it will be the foundation for my future. Because I know, and I don't know about you, but for me, I'm going to have kids whether I do it alone or with a partner. So
I'm the same. Yeah.
So it's a non-negotiable that if my partner doesn't want kids or that isn't a priority for them, I have to sort of
make a decision.
But
it's hard because I feel like, and you guys have been together for so long, so it's always going to be a really hard conversation. There's no denying that that's going to be something that you guys unpack together when you're ready.
Yeah.
And I generally, when I talk about kids to people, I feel like, I don't know if you feel, it's like, oh, you're so young, you have so much time. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. And I'm okay with that. But then you're not listening to me. If this is something that I've said and I want, that's what I feel like I'm so self-aware that if I want this, I'm saying that I want it, means that I want it. And full stop. And I think a lot of people think, there's this misconception that people just say it and they're just saying it in the air type thing. And I'm like, no, I feel like you've been really paternal. I've been really maternal my whole life. We've grown up with community. It's inbuilt in us to be and want to be around so much family and have our own families. That's just a part of, I feel like that's just a part of who we are, right?
Yeah.
Is that we want to carry on the legacy and have children to continue that line.
God, I get excited thinking about kids.
Me too.
I get so excited. I was just picturing it and I pictured myself with my little child walking in Darling Harbour. I'm like, oh, it's so exciting for me. So
you would be an amazing dad. And I think don't ever let anyone dull that shine and that feeling that you have because their own experiences are you've got plenty of time. Don't rush it. It's no, I want to do that. And I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
I know that having kids is not easy. My mum had 5 and I know her struggle.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm in a place in my heart and my happiness that I feel like a kid would add so much value to my life and I could do that and I could carry that out. And it's sad because, I feel like you feel like you need to do it with someone. I know
you do
that's
feel like that, yeah.
Yes. And I've actually never been like that. I'm like you. I'm like, you know what? I actually am okay with doing it myself. I know that if I was a single mom and I wanted to do that, I would be okay. So I have been not really open about this previously. Well, I have actually. I did when Roe Wade and the abortion stuff was happening,
Mm.
I opened up to my audience and I had told them that I had an abortion at the start of this year, which was
Yes.
very true.
Yep.
And that was a really hard thing for me because, oh my God, it gives me goosebumps and it makes me so emotional. But because I have always wanted to be a mum, like from the day that I was born, and if you read my book, you'll understand the depth that comes from. And it comes from my mum and my grandmother, and that's just inbuilt in me. And you probably feel the same with your family, right?
Yeah.
It's just in you. And families are one of our strongest values, and having a family is one of our strongest values. And for me, being pregnant and not being able to feel comfortable about that, so feeling uneasy, and like I thought the feeling would be I was so excited when I was pregnant and found out I was pregnant. I wanted to be excited, but my relationship was so toxic and so horrible at that time that I just did not feel like it was the right time.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. And I have made, you make a choice, and that's really difficult to do, even though it felt like I had this thing that I dreamt of for so many years, and it was and it was there, and it was like right in front of me, but it wasn't right.
No, it wasn't. I remember when we spoke about it when we were in the car when I picked you up at Byron Airport, and we were talking about it, and it was sort of around that moment. And yeah, it was you. I felt really proud of you for being strong within your own heart and making that decision, because like you have to think about yourself, but then also
that child,
and also the toxic situation that you had just got out of. Like, is it a good place to
start off a life?
Yeah, and also you'll be so connected to that toxicity for the rest of your life because the father is the father of the child. So it's like there was always going to be a link that was going to hold you to that person.
And that's what I felt uncomfortable about. And then I had to make a really, really difficult decision, which is never easy. And I honestly give so much credit to those women who have been through that experience.
Yeah.
And I feel you and I understand you in that way, because it's so hard. But, and when women were all over the world were not able to make that choice and make the decision on behalf of their bodies and what they wanted to do, that broke me, because I had to make that decision and I felt like it was the right one. And I could have been crazy enough, I could have been having the baby right now.
Yeah.
And I would have been okay with that. And but I'm happy that I made that decision. I mean, I'm happy that I was strong enough to realize in that moment what to do and what felt right, and trust my instinct. And I know that I'm either going to do this okay by myself, like just, our thought process is like we're okay, we're within ourselves and what we have to offer to be able to do that ourselves. But then also we would love to find that person to do that with.
Yeah, 100%. But oh gosh,
oh my God, this got real deep real quick. I know,
that. But like these are the big things that I think about when I'm laying in my bed. Like, like these are the big chat that I'm having to myself about my future. I'm like, what is the right thing to do in this moment? Like, is it, you have to think about this stuff, because at the end of the day, you're only getting older, and these, we're
not in a time limit.
We're not in a time limit, but I think that like what has also sort of flashed before my eyes the last couple of weeks is that you don't know when your time's up. You don't know. Both of my brothers died at 32. I'm like, you just don't fucking know. Like have to.
I agree. I say this to my friends all the time.
Moments.
Yeah, it's like we literally have the same mentality, and that that way is because your mum is very young and your brother died really young. My mum was 34 when she died. My sister was 33. Yeah. My oldest brother is about 31, and I'm worried about him all the time because it does feel like sometimes you're on a time limit in that way. Like obviously Aboriginal people have a much lower life expectancy because of colonisation and health and it's a matter of that massive gap between those, between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal mortality.
Yeah.
And so this is a thought process we go through very, very,
it's very real in our world,
it's really
isn't
real.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But family is our values, and I think, it's important to have and be on the same page in a relationship about these things and not thinking that it will come.
Yeah.
And I know that's really hard for you and Paulie probably to know and to have that discussion later on and really kind of unpack that within each other.
Yeah.
But I would never want to be with someone for myself who doesn't want to have children off the bat. You know what I mean? It's they need to understand community. They need to understand family. And I think, a lot of black fellas have that instantly. And I've actually never dated a black fella or a black woman, long term. And I don't know why I haven't, because it's silly for me to think that all of this stuff that I feel the need to fill in my partners, who I then in a relationship with.
Yeah.
I have to fill it in as a gap. And if I dated a black fella or a black woman, they would just understand.
Yeah.
And I'm why?
Totally. No,
anyways, I go through those thought processes all the time.
I know. But, I think that it's so – because you spend so much time with your partner too. I've been in Paulie's pocket for 5.5 fucking years. We have lived together for that long. It has been – we have been in each other's faces for that period of time. And it's relationships. What I've realised is relationships are the hardest thing that you can – that you can possibly go through in your life. It's tough work a lot of the time. And I think that at this point in my relationship, I'm just trying to figure it out, whether I'm still trying to figure out, it's 5 years on and I'm still trying to get to know Paul. You know what I mean? Get to know the core of him and what he needs from me and what I need from him. And that's
But does he know what he wants? That's the thing as well.
Yeah, I think these are the conversations that we have to have. And I think that couples therapy is a really good space for that, because there's a third person who's able to direct the conversation and you don't get sort of bogged down in the bullshit. You sort of are able to sort of have these deep conversations, but it can be steered productively. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually looking forward to sort of finding out more about what my future looks like. I don't know what that looks like at the moment. I'm excited though. Whatever's coming is coming. Whatever whatever is meant to be will be.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I feel like that's you in a nutshell, is what work is to be done and you still stay optimistic about it. And I think that's really important for people to understand as well. And I think if you're going through what you're going through and you can kind of have that self-awareness and understanding, then I think that's a good message for other people, is to be stay optimistic. And I know out there dating is hard. I know that it's so complex. And
dating is hard. Relationships are hard. It's all fucking hard.
We're all fucked. But if we can offer any advice, and offer our experiences, and then hopefully,
yes.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
No. And I think everyone's going to go through, these thought processes about having children. Are you on the same page? Do you have the same dislikes and likes and all this sort of stuff? Am I going to be with a man? Am I going to be with a woman? I don't even know.
Let me tell you, none of us have the fucking answers. Ride that shit till the wheels fall off, and that is it. That is it.
Done. If you can't find love, romance, or a fucking root,
just find us on socials. No. No. Okay, love you, mob. We will see you next week. But if you are looking for more not-so-PG content, you can follow us on socials. My handle is @itsmaddymills.
And mine is itsbrooke.blurton.
And we're bad bitches. Goodbye.